Hello, dear friends. Patrick here. How you doing today? Just continuing on in our review of Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance. Today we're only going to be covering two chapters, chapters 11 and 12. I guess I got a little bit bogged down. It's taking me a little longer to get through this than I thought. And I want to share with you briefly the items that jumped out at me. So in chapter 11, he's starting his university studies. He's finished his time in the military. He spent 4 years in the Marines, and now he is attending Ohio State University. Now, while he was in there, he wanted to, he went just bonkers. After he got out of the military, he was like Mr. Invincible when it came to doing his studies. He did poorly in high school, but the effect of going through discipline and the training that he got in the military really changed his mindset and his outlook, apparently. And so while he's in there in Ohio State University, he wants to get a job to help pay his expenses. So he says, I took a job at the Ohio State House, working for a remarkably kind senator from the Cincinnati area. Now, here he had more advantage than I did, because when both when I was in school and when I graduated from school, I was forbidden from having any jobs dealing with the government, because they said we have this thing called affirmative action, and since you're not a visible minority, you are not able to work for the government. But he took this position. He says he took this position. Now I'm curious that this guy has led a golden life from the get-go, and how was he able to get that position, right? I mean, I'm sure he applied, of course, and everything, but to get a job working for a senator, there is a point in his life where he must have been tapped to be part of, by his own words, he calls the elite. And so that's very interesting. And then he says that after a year and 11 months at Ohio State, he graduated with a double major, summa cum laude. I don't know how to pronounce that. And he wanted to skip his graduation ceremony. So that I have in common with him, because when I graduated from university, I did skip my graduation ceremony. I didn't want to, I had nobody in my family that was interested, and it didn't mean anything to my parents. I mean, so there was no point for me to go to my graduation. And twice I graduated from two separate universities. I have two undergraduate degrees, just saying, and I didn't attend either one. So I felt a little kinship there, because he said he didn't want to go to his graduation either. However, the fact that he was able to complete his undergraduate degree in less than 2 years, it took me 4 years to get through my undergraduate degree, and then another 2 years for a second degree. But in any event, he was obviously a maniac when it came to his school studies, and he got through like crazy. So there you go. He's quite a remarkable talent when it comes to academic excellence after getting out of the military. Another kinship I have with him, he says he refuses to watch Saving Private Ryan around anyone but his closest friends, because he can't stop crying during the final scene. I bawled my eyes out during the final scene as well. So these things that he keeps mentioning resonate with me as a particular person, and I'm sure it resonates with a lot of other people around us. And now, what's curious about chapter 11, and the reason why I wanted to make this video, is that he shifts from being autobiographical, talking about his circumstances, to resonating with the electorate. So he shifts. In page 190, it says the symptoms are all around us. He goes from me to we, right? He says, this is what we're facing. Whereas earlier he was saying, this is what I'm facing in my life. I went through this, I went through that, and went through this. And now, finally, in chapter 11, he says, this is what we're facing as a group of U.S. citizens. That's who he's speaking to in chapter 11. He says, to many of us, right, on page 192, the free press, the bulwark of American democracy, is simply full of shit. This is a very powerful statement that he's able to connect with the reader on page 192. And then on 193, he says, we can't trust our politicians. We can't trust the evening news. We can't get jobs. So he goes from me to we, to I to us, or you know what I'm saying, right? He's now speaking on behalf of the American citizen, and he does so very successfully in chapter 11. What separates the successful from the unsuccessful are the expectations that they had for their own lives. the expectations they had for their own lives. And this is very interesting because this is what he went through. Was he was able to receive positive expectation influence from his grandparents. He wasn't able to get it from his mom. His dad was gone. He barely had any contact with his biological dad, and all his stepdads were like a revolving door. So he wasn't able to get it from his direct parents, mom and dad, but he was able to get it from his grandparents. I never knew my grandparents, but I was able to get this positive expectation for success from books. And I'm just sharing that myself personally, because this is bringing out the memories of my own life of how I was able to, quote unquote, succeed, from reading people like Napoleon Hill, going to see Zig Ziglar in person, going to see Brian Tracy in person, reading their books, and a host of other authors. I could list them, but I don't want to bore you with the details. But the way I was able to get a positive expectation of success was through the success literature that was available to me as a young person. And that made all the difference in my own life. So I thought I'd share that with you. If you don't have a source of faith, positive expectation for good things, you need to tap into that, either from somebody close to you in your family, and if you don't have that, you can get it from books like Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Anthony Robbins, Napoleon Hill, Maxwell Maltz, so many others. I wish I knew them all by heart. But anyway, I'll share more titles with you later at a later time. And then he compares statistics about how difficult it is for working class whites to succeed, and he compares it with Latinos and Black Americans and all different demographics at the end of chapter 11. It's quite interesting. He said he became an alien, and he said what turned me into an alien was my optimism. And that's what people need today, is optimism, right? And then chapter 12, he goes on to talk about how he decided to apply to Yale after finishing at Ohio State. He decided to go to Yale for law school, one of the top law schools in the land, and how that basically ushered him into the elite class, I guess you could call it. He said, I had a dream job for the summer, working for the chief counsel for a sitting U.S. senator. And now I don't know if he's referring to the same job that he talked about earlier, but again, he was able to get these primo jobs with high-ranking government officials, but it doesn't say how he was able to do that. He says, I lived among newly Christian members of what folks back home pejoratively called the elites, and by every outward appearance, I was one of them. And that was, he's describing his life at Yale as a Yale law student. He's ushered into that group known as the elites, and he's not making any bones about it. He's just describing the fact. And so that's chapter 12, describing his life at Yale, and we'll continue going on. But you can see how powerful this individual life has been through his hard, difficult experience, and how he was able to roll that into the great success that he's already achieved, and of course will continue to achieve as he works towards becoming the next president of the United States. So there you go. We will continue on. We're on page 208, and we only have about another 40 pages or so. So we should be able to finish this up in another video or two. Thanks a lot for watching. God bless you. Great book. Started off slow and depressing, but it's actually a very good read, very insightful to learn more about the future President of the United States, J.D. Vance. Talk to you soon. Thanks a lot for watching. God bless you. Take care now. Bye-bye.